So I'm popping my shield and you can kill him now. Oh my god. I was standing here, my teammate died over here, and I got my class energy. The Aeon Exotics have changed. Although they still have their own respective names per character, like the Hunter, Warlock, and Titan versions, they're all the exact same exotic, and for good reason. These are all about synergy between you and your teammates. The old perk was called Aeon Energy. You would perform the particular action required based on the class you're using, and then as long as your teammates also had the Aeon Exotic equipped on them, it would give them the energy listed here. So grenades for Warlocks, melee for Titans, dodge for Hunters. These were basically the biggest meme, and of course, Cool Guy is the only person who could actually find a way to reliably use these things because the guy's a creative genius. But at the end of the day, people just didn't use them. So Bungie actually did something pretty sweet and completely reworked them. GJERDA and I set out to show how this exotic works. He's a brand new content creator who's starting to really focus on YouTube, and he does some video editing on the side, so I think his channel is going to have some pretty insightful stuff coming soon. This project was a collaboration between the two of us with the help of Hyper and Kamira, so it would be pretty sweet if you stopped by his channel to say hello on one of his recent videos, because he helped plan a lot of this one today. Today's video is going to explain all of the things you can do with these in PvP and in PvE, because there's a lot. First and foremost, when you go to inspect these, you're going to notice a 5th square on the right hand side, or I guess a 6th square if you include the infusion one. When you hover over that, you're going to see 3 options. One that's grayed out because that's the one that's already equipped by default, and then 2 other options. The 3 of them are called Vigor, Force, and Insight. Each one has their own color for those lights that are coming out of the gauntlets: red, green, blue. This is pretty sweet because it's an exotic that can change perks on the fly, and hovering over each mod, it explains what they do, but we're going to get back to that in a minute. Now, for starters, a lot of people had this thought that you needed 3 people to wear these in order for it to work. I kind of get that because the perk reads that way, so people usually thought I need to have a Hunter, a Warlock, and a Titan, but just in case that is the way you're still thinking of it, you can forget that. For some of these perks, you don't even need anyone else to be wearing them. And on the flip side, you could have 6 Titans and this thing would activate for every single one of them. So let me break it down like this. You're wearing the Aeon Safe Exotic Gauntlets, you pick a particular mod, and there are always going to be 3 scenarios. Number 1, completing a task gives you your own benefit. Number 2, completing a task gives your allies a benefit as long as they're wearing the Aeon Safe Gauntlets. And number 3, again, completing a specific task will give your allies a benefit as long as they're wearing the Aeon Safe Gauntlets with a different mod than you. So you could be wearing Vigor, as long as they're wearing Insight or Force, they can get that benefit. That's how we're going to run through everything today. First, we're going to go through Vigor, explaining that 1, 2, 3, then on to Force, the 1, 2, 3, and then Insight, 1, 2, 3. Starting with Vigor. Number 1, the benefit to myself. I actually don't have to complete a task here. Just by having these on, every time an ally dies, I get 25% of my class energy back. To be clear, my allies do not have to have their version of the Aeon gauntlets equipped. Here are 2 allies jumping off the map, not wearing them, and bam, I get my dodge back. My first thought was, well, that's useless. You probably have to be right next to them. And I was wrong. Look at this. I am across the map, and Appa and Cryptic jump off. As they die, you can see both boosts to my dodge. Vigor also has a part B, I'll say, for number 1, which is the benefit to yourself. When I res someone else, like in Trials, I will get my full class ability back. This one does require the person getting res to also have the Aeon Exotic equipped though. Number 2 for Vigor, benefiting other allies who are wearing Aeon regardless of the mod. In other words, they can have the same mod equipped, in this case Vigor. When I pop my super, they get a surge of healing, and it's no joke. You can go from 1 HP all the way to max in an instant. This one does have a range though. You have to be within 30 meters of each other in order for it to work. But taking a look on screen, that's a pretty good distance regardless. And now number 3, benefiting your allies instead of yourself, but this time they have a different mod. So because I have Vigor equipped, they could have Force or Insight. It doesn't matter. As long as it's not the same as mine, they'll get the cherry on top here. When I pop my super, not only does it give them that instant burst of healing, it also gives them a 100 HP overshield on top of that. So this becomes an incredible swappable exotic. If you're in a Trials match and you have a super and you really need to clutch this round, I cannot stress to you enough, if the 3 of you quickly put on Aeons and the person who's popping super has Vigor and the other 2 don't, that will literally guarantee the round, because now when you pop your super, your teammates have overshields for 20 seconds. And get this, not only does the overshield last 20 seconds, but let's say they take damage from it, as long as the overshield doesn't get broken completely, it regens. Next up is Sect of Force. These two sections are pretty quick compared to Vigor, and I just wanted to mention that if you're enjoying this or if you found that helpful, leaving a like or a comment for feedback can really help the YouTube algorithm figure out if it should push this video or not. So if you are enjoying it, I would appreciate it a lot. And if you're looking for more info like this or just general PvP tips on how to improve in the Crucible, consider subscribing if you want to catch my next videos. Lastly, we're inching on 2,000 members in the Discord, so if you're looking for like-minded people to play with, it's a great place to start. But let's get on to the Force mod. The top half works in both PvP and PvE. The bottom half is PvE only. Starting at number 1, completing a task for your own benefit. In this case, it's dealing rapid precision hits to get an increase to your reload speed and your weapon swap speed. 4 precision shots in a row. You don't need to get the kill, and you'll get this thing on the left-hand side that says Aeon Weapon Haste. That's the buff, and it lasts 6 seconds. Your reload speed is 22% faster and your swap speed was 23% faster. But you might as well call it a 20% buff to both, which is good, but for it to only happen after 4 headshots in a row, not really a PvP thing. And just to be clear, my teammate who was also wearing the Aeons did not get the buff. Which leads me to number 2, benefiting your allies who are wearing the Aeons and the same mod as you. Nothing for PvP, but in PvE, if you stun a champion, like this for example, your teammates get a burst of grenade and melee energy, not you. The amount they'll get is about 40%, which is definitely helpful in those nightfalls. Number 3, the benefit to your allies when they're wearing the Aeons with a different mod. They always get benefit number 2, but then a bonus. In this case, they'll get super energy on top of that melee and grenade. That amount is about 10%. Onto the Sect of Insight. The top half is weird. It says successive precision weapon takedowns, which by the way is I think Bungie's new word for kills, have a chance to drop an orb of power for your allies. So basically, just like a masterwork weapon has a chance to drop an orb when you get multi-kills, this one is supposed to do the same just with any precision weapon. So we hopped into a private match and I took down a bunch of enemies. I did this with a hand cannon and it did not seem to matter how many people or how fast it was. I could not create an orb. Then we thought, okay, it says precision weapon. Let's just use a sniper in case that's weirdly what they meant. Same deal here though. Could not create an orb of power for the life of me. Did not matter how many people I killed or how fast it was. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that this is PvE only because once I tested it in a nightfall, I started dropping them, but it was still pretty random, which I think is because of that word chance. So for Insight, there actually is no number 1. There isn't a certain task you do to just benefit yourself. It's entirely a team-based mod. Number 2 is when your allies are wearing Aeons with the same mod as you. You go and do a finisher on an elite, you generate special ammo for them. If you do the finisher to a boss or a mini boss, you'll generate heavy ammo for them. I believe champions check both those boxes, so in one finisher you can create both the heavy and the special box for them. Either way, if there's anyone out there confused about what mini boss versus elite or anything like that, here's a quick little diagram that my buddy Hyper sent to me. Credit to Solcion, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. I'll put his link down below. He calls this the garbage rank guide, TM. Either way, there it is. You can screenshot it. It talks about that symbol and like the color of the bar and whether or not they're minor, major, or boss, for example. In the interest of time, I'm going to leave it to you guys in the comments. Is there anyone out there who can just very clearly explain these differences in the comments? I would really appreciate that because I'm a PvE noob. Then last but not least is number 3. When your teammates are wearing the Aeons, but they have a different mod equipped, what's the bonus? In this case, it's a damage bonus to their weapons. And I gotta say, it's a considerable amount. It's 35%. You know, for example, the big craze is 120s being able to 2-tap people, right? Well, imagine your 120 RPM hand cannon doing 120 instead of 90. But of course, this is PvE, so you might not be maining that anyways. Now to wrap things up, if you're using this stuff in PvP, 100% Vigor is the way to go. I think it's hilarious that you can basically have your class ability all the time based on all of your allies dying because they don't need to have Aeons on. But let's say you're here because you're trying to go flawless in trials. Are you going to wear these or not? My answer is no, but with a caveat. Or is it caveat? Or is it caviar? Either way, in something like trials, you don't want to depend on your allies dying to get your class energy, but I will say you should have this on your character in the inventory ready to swap to it. I already talked about it earlier on, but putting this on to pop your super can be enormous for winning a round. Hopefully this was helpful, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.